Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yeah.
Um, my name is Atlas and I use he, they pronouns, also known as Painted Dog on Twitter. I am the chairperson and director of operations at Anthony's Coast, and I'm joined here today by the lovely Nassie.
Hello.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Nasir Enterbird. I'm an entomologist, study insects at the University of Guelph, and I do some science communication with the fandom and streaming and stuff like that.
Awesome.
I really like
And
bees.
for people who don't know, of course, we're playing Minecraft right now. I was telling Nassie that it seems to be the furry adopted game lately. Seems to be that all the cons are jumping on top of playing Minecraft, which is great because, geez, who doesn't love Minecraft?
It's true.
So.
And like, I haven't touched this game in 5 years, so I am completely lost, but enjoying the aesthetic of the many orange terracotta blocks.
Yeah.
Put down.
I mean, hey, as I was saying before, they've added so much stuff to it. Like we were playing around with the bees and all the amazing terracottas. So yeah, awesome.
Put down a bunch of cobweb.
I'm gonna probably.
Oh god, it slows you down a lot. Ha ha ha. It's good.
So yeah, we're just playing around on creative while we kind of chit chat today, and hopefully, have a relaxing environment for everyone. Not going to be too crazy today. I think this is going to be on a Sunday when this is going to come out to all you guys. So, oh my goodness,
you're stuck forever.
I can't even move. Ah!
Trapped.
Oh, I don't even know if I can climb it. I'm just like inching my way out. Let's go.
I just need to put a bunch of spiders in it.
Oh, jeez.
I think
Times like this, like, fortunate we're on creative, because if it was survival, I would be screaming. I escaped.
And I think one of the things that we wanted to talk about was kind of connect the, our expertise in biology and science with the con's theme of Pixel Purrfect. So the small life on the planet.
Surrounded by all of our lovely bee friends here.
Yeah. Though they're not very small in Minecraft.
No, they aren't. There's some. I've seen mods too before where they actually they had ants and like butterflies and stuff. Like people have done some crazy stuff with Minecraft.
Nice. Oh, like, why don't they just add ants regularly? That's my
I know they really should. Like just like some little ants, crawling around the ground. Or maybe they steel blocks and stuff.
Yeah, or like the 1950s like Them movie and just have giant ants that you try.
Oh jeez. They're gonna be the new monsters in this.
Yeah, you can patent that Minecraft.
Get some good red fire ants.
Heck
yeah. So maybe we'll just start off with a couple of kind of icebreaker questions.
Sure.
Tying things together. But what's some of your favorite small animals?
Ooh, I mean, just from our...
Besides the obvious.
I mean, insects in general, of course, because I'm an entomologist. I just love all the small organisms on the planet. I don't know, though, in terms of, mammals, hummingbirds, obviously. That's, what my Sona is based on.
Birds.
Yeah. So, my Sona is based on the marvelous spatula tail hummingbird. It's native to Costa Rica. It's endangered, unfortunately, but it's beautiful, and it has these unique mating displays where they use their long tail feathers and fly in between them and do somersaults between them in the air to attract a mate.
That's so cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Do you know how many I mean, this is a very big question, but do you know how many species of hummingbirds there are? Because I've only ever really seen red, I think it's red ruby-throated ones. I think that's their technical term.
Yeah. I'm not sure how many there are on the planet. I think it's around 100. It's not too many. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there is a decent amount of species though, especially in the tropics. There's quite a diversity of hummingbirds.
Yeah, I was gonna say because they're primarily native to like much warmer climates than Canada.
Yeah. Another one of my favorite species of hummingbirds is like the bumblebee hummingbird. And
Oh yes.
yeah, I think it's the smallest species of bird on the planet, or like even smallest species of vertebrate maybe or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
They're so freaking cute though.
Yeah.
I that's one thing you don't see a lot in the furry fandom is like a lot of like hummingbirds and like kind of non I want to say like crows and ravens and stuff or owls. Like those are kind of the common furry species, but you don't see like hummingbirds or like those kind of like little smaller birds.
Yeah, it's true. And like it's kind of, I mean, I'm particularly biased towards the insect ones, of course, again.
Yeah.
So it's something that I want to see more of in the fandom. And I feel like I've seen more of it in recent months. Like there is a really great bee suit done by.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, I
It was
forget.
so good.
It's so cute. I forget the name of the maker. It's not Mochi. No, it's not Mochi. But the name of the suitor is Chloe, and it's just such a good suit.
I wanna, yeah, I would love to see that suit in person. I was staring at it for like way too long. I think because it was on Dealer's Den or what have you, and just I love it when makers really like step outside of their comfort boxes to kind of explore like uncommon species because all we really see are like cats and dogs, and no one really talks about all the other wondrous animals in the world.
It's true. Yeah, and I think like that's one of the things I enjoy doing with my science communication on Twitter and stuff is try and get people more interested and involved with the small, really important organisms on the planet, in particular the insects, because not a lot of people realize just how important they are for ecosystem function and I don't know, even like getting your food on the table with the bees and stuff like that too.
Yeah, yeah, and with the, I think like bees in particular have really become the forefront of a lot of scientists like science communications because it's so apparent for people that like bees are really important for our ecosystem, but no one really talks about like ants or like kind of like spiders and things like that, or even other small organisms. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really cool though, because especially with the advent of social media and like all kinds of creative people doing really unique things with the platforms. You have accounts like Ants Canada popping up on YouTube that has like, I think it's like 3 or 4 million subscribers now, and it's just it's a YouTube channel entirely dedicated to ant keeping and like create the guy that runs it, Mikey Bustos, does these crazy elaborate like stories relating to just the ants that he finds in his backyard, and he's making an entire house dedicated to keeping ants. It's insane.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, like I've seen um I'm on that kind of like side of TikTok where it's like the sciencey like communications part where like most people like absolutely probably don't want to watch a bunch of ants like go after like a spider kind of thing, but I find those things like so fascinating, and I'm really happy to see that there's a lot of other people starting to appreciate insects that most people would be like ew gross, like a spider or like ants kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. And I mean, when you get a more unique and like almost like engaging and entertaining perspective on organisms like that, all of a sudden it completely changes the way people think about them, and they become like enjoyable and interesting. I was talking with one of my other friends recently about the shift in public perception around bees throughout the 1970s to now. And I remember growing up, like it was always a thing where parents and kids and everything would be like, "Oh, careful of the bees! They're going to sting you," and be scared of them when they were flying at you. And nowadays, because we use them as such important pollinators and they're in the news all the time about save the bees and how cute they are, like suddenly public perception is like, no, they'll never sting you. Like they're just really cute.
yeah, Yeah. Like it's really crazy though, like how easily like media can change like the perception of these like animals that have coexisted with us for such a long period of time and are so crucial to our world's ecosystem.
Yeah.
um, like exactly as you said, like I know growing up myself, like everyone's like bees are scary, like don't go near bees, but now as like an adult you're like no, like bees won't hurt me. Wasps on the other hand and
Yeah.
hornets are in out there for like blood. But yeah, never really had a bad experience with a bee. When I was a kid once, I was outside playing around, doing what little kids do, and I I ran near a hornet's nest and I didn't realize, and then I started to scream, and it flew like in my mouth.
Oh
So
no.
that was
What?
fun. But the crazy thing is that it didn't sting me,
That's
but it
that's really weird.
yeah, so I like ran around with this hornet in my mouth.
Oh,
Was able to get
what?
inside and run to my mother, who is severely allergic to bees and hornets. And thankfully it didn't sting her either, but yeah.
It's like, okay, Atlas, slowly open your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Just slowly, and like me, child, just absolutely like top of your lungs, like screaming. Yeah. So
The trash furry in me. Uh-oh. Oh, they don't blow up. Okay. I was worried. In creative mode, they don't blow up. The trash furry in me is like reminiscent of I don't know if you've seen Beastars, but there's like the scene in Beastars where I don't even remember all the names of the characters, but the bunny character is like, I don't know, it was super weird, just wants the wolf character to eat her at some point, and I'm just imagining that Wasp is like, okay, it's my time. I'm in a mouth right now. I'm not gonna harm this thing. It's just time for me to be eaten.
yeah. No, I don't know how that happened, but it did.
I don't envy that experience. Maybe I wouldn't be an entomologist today if I had that same experience.
Yeah. I'm just surprised, like, I don't know, like my parents have always been like very weary of like that experience because they're like, maybe they're like traumatized now by like bees and stuff. And I'm like, no, like I love bees. Like they're great. But I was at hornets. No. My partner, he is terrified of just like any insect.
Oh no.
And the other day, he like there was like a spider on the ground. He was like, Atlas, like you need to get rid of that. Like you need to like put it outside or something. But like inside, I'm like, no, he's like doing so much work. Like he's getting rid of all the bugs in our house. If anything comes in, like just leave him. Like I would be lying if I didn't say there was a couple times that like I just relocated the spider to our basement.
That's totally fair.
I'm, like throwing it outside into like the freezing cold because no.
Secretly, of course, and you just hope that they don't watch the stream.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's fine. He probably knows. He knows I just kind of like pick them up and walk away with them, and so long as if he doesn't know where they go, then it's fine.
Out of sight, out of mind. It's all good.
Exactly. But yeah, tell me some like, do you have any like crazy experiences that you want to share, like with like kind of like small insects, like in what you've experienced over your studies and lifetime?
Oh wow, there's like
Loaded question, but
it is a loaded question. I mean, the one that usually I end up talking about and gets people like interested about my research and my experiences is the time that I raised a botfly out of my body.
Oh, I did not know this story.
Yeah, I told it. I did a panel with Dr. Wildlife a couple last year, I think it was at FWA, like virtual FWA, and
Okay.
it was the first time like it kind of got shared and everybody went wild over it. But as a rite of passage as an entomologist, one of the things that you are kind of expected to do is And I mean, this isn't the case. Like, you don't have to do this, but most people are okay with it once you go into entomology. Is if you travel to the tropics and you start to do research in some tropical place and you get a botfly in your body, it's your duty to raise that botfly like it's your own.
Oh my gosh.
And so I have quite a few friends actually that have done this now. And my story with it is like I went to do field work in Costa Rica and I got a botfly on my arm and it was like, I don't know how to describe it. So for those that don't know that are watching, botflies are a parasitic fly that lays an egg inside of you and then the larvae develops off of wherever it laid and then eventually it just kind of flies off. And it's not life-threatening. It's not comfortable, but it doesn't even really hurt that much. It doesn't hurt more than like a pimple would or anything like that. But yeah, so I got one of these things in my arm and I just kind of like let it grow and let the maggot grow. And when they're developing like in the pimple sized cyst on your body, they have like a little pocket where they breathe air out of. So you can see it's like, it's not its head, it has a little tube that breathes through on its back end, but you can see that popping out like a whale's would, like a blowhole almost. And then after a couple weeks, it just emerges as a fly and flies away, and you, as a loving parent, you let it live the rest of its life.
I am like, my skin is like, like, oh my goodness. I think I'm speechless. Like, I don't even know how to respond to that.
Yeah, it's
Oh
definitely
my-
one of my more wild experiences in entomology and dealing with the small things on the planet
Is that like, so that's
living
like
in
your
you.
guys' like initiation? Like, to be an entomologist, you have to host a botfly.
I mean, if you're doing research in the tropics, yeah, I would say so. It also depends on who you're working with. I'm sure my mentors have been a little bit crazy, but most entomologists are a little bit crazy, so that's okay.
I mean, hey, it really sets you up though to know what your future is going to be like.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, it was crazy. And then one of my friends that did the same thing, they had to go back and do an exam on campus, and the botfly was still inside, and for them it was inside their head, which was like I wouldn't have been able to deal with it.
Oh no.
And so they went in to do this exam, and of course they have this welt on their head with this grub poking its head out of their arm. And the rest of the class and the teacher were so grossed out by it that they had to ask her to leave in the middle of the exam and like do her exam in the hallway because they just couldn't deal with like looking over and seeing it poking out of her head.
Oh my, like, where was it on her head?
Just top of the forehead.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, like I think even like it still makes my skin crawl just thinking about like times when I was a kid, like swimming in like a lake and having like leeches on my toes. Like that still makes me like, ugh.
Yeah, I get that.
But-
I don't like leeches very much. I've had some bad experiences with leeches.
Oh really?
Yeah, so one of like the areas of research that I work in is biodiversity in the maritime provinces of Canada. And that's kind of one of the ways that we connect is like you're from the Maritimes and I'm from the Maritimes. We're like, hey, biologist from the Maritimes. And also
Yeah.
funny. And so we did a lot of work in the bogs in New Brunswick, Canada. And during that research, like you get full geared up to go into the bog. You have the big chest waders and like you're preparing to go in. And some of the bogs in New Brunswick are just like hot spots for leeches. Like it's insane how dense they are filled with leeches. And I mean, that can be creepy, but some of it's actually really cool. Like one of the times we were at this bog that it was just like an entire lake almost the size of this bog, and most of it was covered in sphagnum, like a thick layer of this like cushiony weed. And then you would walk out on the middle of this sphagnum, and it's floating on this lake bog. And when you were jumping on it, you can feel all of the sphagnum around you just kind of like rising up in waves. It was really like, I don't know, it's probably one of my favorite experiences. It's kind of scary because like you think, oh, if I fall through this stuff, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna just fall through it and like be in the middle of this lake. But
Yeah.
it's also just like just really cool to be in the middle of that and be like, this is something that was naturally formed, and it's almost like a plant trampoline or something like that. But anyways, like in the middle of this sphagnum bog, there was like a hole into the lake, and it was like pitch black and dark because of all the sphagnum shadowing it. And then on the surface, all you see is just thousands of leeches just swimming along the surface.
No.
It's like, are you big on horror movies?
My partner is, so like I watch them like with not a whole lot of attention, but like I know of a lot of them.
Okay. There's this one horror movie called Slither, and I think it's pretty much based on that idea of like just a bunch of leeches invading this place, and the people have to try and survive. And it just like I had watched that movie before doing this experience, and it definitely made me think of that, which is not fun, but it's also just kind of cool and surreal to like see that, because learning about leeches and the diversity of leeches that are out there, not all leeches are blood sucking. They're in bogs and swamps, like especially because the density of leeches gets so high. There are some leeches that have adapted to eat other leeches.
Huh. I did not know that.
Yeah, so usually the bigger the leech, the more likely it is that it just feeds on other leeches or other annelids in general, like other worms and stuff like that. So in this like bog, there was a bunch of different species in this little pool, and one of the species was one of these like leech feeding species, and so we collected a bunch of samples, brought them back to the lab to process for the museum, and it was really, really amazing and kind of crazy and weird to watch these things, because one of the ways that you treat leeches before you put them in bees, watch out. The bees are in my way. Come on.
It's because you still have the flower in your hand.
Oh, yeah, true. I didn't even realize I had that still in my hand. I don't know how to get rid of it. It's fine. But so one of the ways that you treat the leeches to prepare them for samples in a museum collection is you just drop ethanol on them really slowly. And that makes it so they don't just curl up, because if you've ever seen a leech, they kind of do this accordion movement to get places, almost like an inchworm. And in order to get all the features that you want to see to identify them to species, you need them to be like all elongated. So you just slowly drop ethanol on them. They kind of get drunk, and then they pass out and will eventually die because you put them in the ethanol to preserve them for future research. And while I was doing this to one of the leeches, they got so drunk that they puked up one of the leeches that they had eaten.
What?
So,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was like a long night in the lab and during this research, and like it's just, you're tired, you're excited for the opportunity to get some sleep, and then all of a sudden you're like watching these leeches, and it just pukes up another leech. And that was how I found out about leeches that eat other leeches, as the curator came by, and I was like kind of freaking out, like, am I dreaming right now? Did I just see this leech puke another leech? And he was like, yeah, this is this such and such species. I don't remember the species name now, but it feeds on other leech species in these highly diverse bog ecosystems in New Brunswick.
That's crazy. So like, was the leech it like spit up like the same size as it, or was it like significantly smaller?
I would say it's not significantly smaller, but it's definitely smaller. But I think like they will kind of eat whatever they possibly can. And some, I don't know if you've ever seen fish that do this, but fish are just so carnivorous. Fish, especially, are just so I don't know what you would call it, like, just they don't care about what they put inside their bodies.
Yeah, kind of like vultures and stuff.
Yeah, so they'll just try and scarf down whatever fish they can get their mouth around. And I've seen so many fish on lake shores and stuff that have died, especially catfish. Catfish are the worst for it.
Oh yeah.
But they just try and scarf down another fish, and then they just end up suffocating and dying. And I'm sure the leeches would do the same exact thing. Like, they would not care if they ended up scarfing down something too big for them to actually digest.
Yeah, because I'm just picturing like almost like a mitosis kind of thing happening. Like, it just kind of like slowly morphs into two like leeches.
Yeah.
Or leech. I don't know if the leeches, is that the singular phrase of it? I don't know.
I don't know actually either.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I wonder if that, like, I'm sure it's the same kind of thing. Like the endosymbiosis is, I mean, that's probably what all that's based on. It's a very similar action to a single cellular organism like an amoeba trying to suck in another cell. It just is like, okay, this is food now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna transform this into food. That's crazy though. I honestly, like, yeah, leeches are one. I refuse to call them like an animal because I'm like, they're not an animal. Like,
they're they're just like a fictional creature, a vampire.
Yeah, like they just look so like prehistoric and just like, I don't know. I don't want to know what they're thinking of. Like, they just look like they're always up to no good. Like, if you like never Google like leech like up close. Like, they're just terrifying to look at.
Yeah.
I can't like imagine like you all like having to look at them like under a microscope. Like, I would no.
It's so funny though, because I don't know. I find them cute in a way. Like, I don't know. I know I'm crazy. I'm the crazy entomologist that's like, I just love all life on the planet. So I can't be mad at them forever, even if I have like
it's not their fault.
Experiences. Exactly. They were just evolution just happened to push them in that direction, and I feel bad for them more than anything else.
Yeah, they were at the bottom of the barrel when it came to evolution.
Yeah. I
like,
really love our aquarium, by the way. Whoops.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was talking about doing a bee house or something earlier, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna make like a kind of a little aquarium, just definitely, absolutely not the amount of space this amount of fish should have. I'm super familiar with like aquascaping and aquakeeping. I actually have like a shrimp tank here beside me.
Oh, nice.
But this is, definitely like SeaWorld's ethics. Definitely not a proper size for them, but we can, they have what they need in there. There's some coral for them to eat.
I put some spider webs in there for them. They're fine.
Oh, there you go. These are like, yeah. I know they show clownfish in this, but whenever you actually spawn them, I don't see any. Oh, maybe there actually is one. Hold on. That looks like one. Just like one tiny little clownfish. The rest of them are just like miscellaneous looking fish.
Here, you can have one of the clownfish blocks then, Mr. Clownfish.
Wow. He's like, oh my goodness, my siblings.
Yeah. So you said you were like, do you have more than the one aquarium, or is it just like the shrimp one that you have?
So when I used to live in an apartment like in Halifax, we had like a 32-gallon like saltwater aquarium, and that was like my favorite thing. And the thing with like aquascaping and just like keeping aquariums is that it's always easier to have a bigger aquarium than to have a smaller aquarium, because like the pH levels and stuff like fluctuate so much faster in a small aquarium rather than a big one.
Right.
There's more, of course, space for the different chemicals and what have you to displace in. So yeah, so I was like, I've had so I had my 32 gallon, but we were living in an apartment at the time, and we were just kept moving around in the city, and it is a pain in the derriere to move a fish tank, especially,
Oh yeah.
water weight itself. I'd say a 32 gallon aquarium, especially with salt water, probably was around 500 to 800 pounds, I want to say. So to move it, you had to completely drain it. But with aquariums, you don't want to drain all the water and dump it. You can't put new water in because you want to keep that
Bacterial
water that
culture
already
and
has.
everything.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of have to take like when we first did a big move, we had I think like 5 different like Tupperware like big. No, they're not Tupperware. Geez, those are little ones, but like big. It was like totes, and we just dumped like gallons and gallons of water in them, and that was essentially what we transported to our new house, and then had to put it into the aquarium. um, and 72 gallons is not a big tank by any means.
Yeah.
But the upkeep that you have to do with saltwater aquariums is pretty significant. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, when we moved to where we currently live and bought a house, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like casually go back into it, but I decided to just get a little nice freshwater tank instead of a saltwater, because saltwater animals are very expensive.
Yeah.
And it is very easy for them to die. So it's not easy for kind of casual hobbyists, but yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I just started to try and do some aquascaping and stuff like that. I'm more familiar with terrestrial stuff than I am aquatic, but I started to raise some like triops and stuff in my house.
Oh, okay.
It was really fun. I've been enjoying it, and like my triops baby is very active and very cute.
I love that. Yeah, like the thing is too is with like, so our issue, my partner and I are terrible with plants. Like just we will have like I don't know, like all we can keep alive in our house is like cacti, because they don't need water, or like you want to water them very regularly, because we're bad at gauging how much water does this plant need, and we either overwater them or don't water them enough, and they just end up dying. So the only things that we have in our house is like we have a Hoya, we have aloe, and we have a bunch of cacti. So I was like, you know what? Easy way to solve this issue is to get it, like water plants, because you don't have to water them.
Yeah.
So they're very self-sustaining. So yeah, I have a couple of plants in my tank here. They're not too crazy. I will not try and butcher like their actual technical terms, but there's like Anubis and a couple of like spider grasses kind of stuff in there, but nothing too crazy, just because I will definitely not be good at upkeeping them. Coral's more my thing. We had quite a lot of coral in our saltwater tank, and that's what I miss the most, because
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, because like coral is like a living, breathing organism.
Yeah.
And of course plants are too, but it's really amazing to like watch them grow. And like if you have like an anemone, we had clownfish, and they would like pair up together and like hang out all together. So it's cool.
Yeah, I always am impressed with people that can grow coral in those kind of setups, because like especially as a scientist and somebody that I've worked with people that have tried to work with corals in the past, and doing research with them is so difficult because they're really hard to like keep growing.
Oh yeah, and they're so finicky just to like water parameters too. Like I know, for instance, like if you get like one of the most common coral is like bubble coral, and it's absolutely beautiful, but it's so finicky, and you really need to make sure that you're like drip acclimating them before you put them in. And even then, like you want to leave them in kind of a bag with the water from its previous kind of culture before you introduce it to an entire new culture, because just the different chemicals in it, and like if you have a bunch of different fish in there, like they're just so finicky. It's so hard to keep them alive.
Yeah, so sensitive. And I mean, that makes sense why like they're in such a dire state with all the pollution in the oceans and stuff like that too.
Yeah, no, that's like a huge thing. And a lot of the coral there are like soft corals, so they're not kind of. A lot of people when they think of coral, they think of like I don't know, almost like barnacle-looking coral, where it's like really hard and I mean, they're still as kind of fragile as soft corals, but soft corals are kind of like your anemones and your like I'm blanking out on names right now, but they definitely are more sensitive and more fluid with the water, so they kind of grab things from the water a lot easier than kind of your hard corals. So yeah, that's primarily what is in warmer climates. You don't usually find your soft corals in cold climates.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They don't do well with cold temperatures.
Well, now if anybody wants to try and start a aquarium of their own, they can turn to you.
Yeah, I'm by no means an expert. It's just me by like having a tank for, I mean, we had that for about 4 or 5 years, I want to say, and I've been all about like aquascaping for a while. So it's just, yeah, it's a good hobby to get into. Not a lot of people think about like aquariums when it comes to like plant keeping. A lot of people want like, you know, plants to just sit around your house and stuff. But it's nice having a tank. I find like just water like so relaxing to begin with.
Yeah, I agree.
If you have a cat, cats love them.
That's fair too. I wish I could have a cat because my husband is allergic.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, I grew up with cats, but it's too bad.
Yeah. I always say like allergies, it's so hard to get around them.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with like, yeah, you don't want them sneezing and congestion all the time. That's the worst.
Yeah. Is your partner just allergic to cats, or is it like kind of like all like cats, dogs, those sorts of things?
I think it's just cats. Just the dander from cats, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Actually, like on the front of like the Pixel Purrfect and the small things, one of the things with the aquariums that I only recently found out about and was interested about was like just how important the bacterial life is in them. And I mean, I knew about like ammonia cycling and stuff like that in aquariums. Especially I've worked with the Aqua Lab here in Guelph a couple of times, and they have like one of the best ammonia and nitrate cycling machines, I guess, in Canada. But like just learning about how aquarium like havers, people that just like have their own aquariums, have to like be on top of that and be aware of just like what the concentration of bacteria is and how you start up an aquarium by like feeding it bacteria early on and stuff like that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, no, it's so fascinating. Like this is probably one of my favorite parts about aquariums is just kind of the science behind it, because so many people think that, I don't know, just like the classic like, I'm gonna get a goldfish and I'm gonna put it in this like bowl that barely is even, you know, like a gallon. It's usually like closer to like 0.2 gallons, and they're like, yep, this is gonna be fine. Meanwhile, goldfish have probably the biggest waste out of any fish species like in the universe, and they grow to be huge. So a lot of times, you know, they die really quickly because, kind of as I said at the beginning, that the bigger the aquarium, the more room for error, is kind of what a lot of aquascapers say, is that there's a lot more space for things to dissolve in. So if you're putting a bunch of like treatments in, it disperses a lot easier. While if you have, compared to like a 10-gallon tank, you want to be more precise about what you're putting in there because there's not a lot of spaces for it to go. But yeah, like I know some people who, you know, for instance, will like buy water from culture treatment centers just to make sure that they have like the best of the best for their aquariums.
Wow.
And like people will pay big bucks just for some good good quality water kind of
Good
thing.
bacteria water.
Yeah, and they, the bacteria is what they want. And to your point too, the fact that when you get an aquarium, it takes I know with my 10-gallon, it really depends on the size of your tank and also your water quality at home, depending on if you're using like distilled water or tap water. But my tank, I think it took 2 or 3 months to cycle properly. So that's essentially once all, I'm going to mess up my terminology here, but once all the nitrates turn to nitrites.
Yeah.
I'm saying that right. It's either that way or vice versa. But essentially, yeah, one of those two things is very bad. The other one is really good. So the bacteria needs to start naturally being able to transform those things in the tank and in the ecosystem. Because if not, once you start introducing like a bunch of fish or a bunch of plants, the bioload in there is going to be too heavy and you'll wipe out your entire tank so fast.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, this is a little bit of a tangent and kind of left field, but it makes me think of yogurt culturing, because it's a huge thing, especially in India, is like getting really good family lineages of a certain bacteria strain to make good yogurt with. And like people are very protective of their yogurt strains. And I've been heavy on food YouTube since quarantine started. And it's kind of amazing, and just like something that not a lot of people think about with regards to the food that they're eating. Like in these foods, the bacteria that are producing the flavor and the effect that you want are really important for like maintaining that quality of food, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's super duper similar. I didn't even think about like yogurt culture and stuff, and like it's similar with like milk and stuff too. Like anything that you really have to be mindful of, like bacteria, and you want to be really specific about like what bacteria you're introducing or what bacteria you're not introducing.
Yeah.
People just always think that like aquariums are like easy to have, and like absolutely they can be easy, but it's definitely not. I'm gonna go to PetSmart, I'm gonna buy like a bowl and I'm gonna put whatever fish I want in there and kind of leave them be. And like, for instance, one of the biggest mistakes people make aside from goldfish is like with like betas, and they'll get like super duper small tanks for them, but betas usually need like at least a 5-gallon tank. Anything under 5 gallons, I usually personally recommend not having any actual fish in there. It's usually good for if you want to, maybe have like some shrimp, or maybe have just like some plants if you're just wanting to do like the aquascaping part. But fish they poop a lot and it's hard to control the ammonia levels when you have such a small tank. And things could be fine one day, but you can wake up the next morning and it'll be everything will be gone.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and like I have a pretty small tank, and that's why I'm just keeping it with the triops and the plants right now, because I didn't want anything else to, I don't know, very, very cautious when I'm keeping plants and animals now, because I know how sensitive they can be.
Yeah, and it's really hard to have a lot of different plants and a bunch of different species, because like or not species of plants, but like species of like fish or shrimp or what have you, because sometimes like a decent amount of fish will eat plants, so you really have to be like selective there. And then if you start introducing fish, then you have to be like, are they compatible? Are you introducing the aggressive ones last and then the calm ones first, so that the aggressive ones aren't over dominating the tank, things like that.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's crazy. I just remembered a story too. I think it was my partner who told me this, but someone used to work at a pet store, and a lady came in and was like, I need like water conditioner. So essentially like water conditioner helps remove kind of what's that called? Shoot. That's in our water, chlorine.
Yeah.
It removes like chlorine from like tap water. So instead of using distilled water, if you want to use tap water, you usually want to use like a good water conditioner. just to help remove that stuff, so it's not as, you know, potent. So she came in, she was like, I need a water conditioner because my tank, or like my water, is nasty. And the person was like, okay, like, here's, you know, a good water conditioner, just like read the label, and you'll be fine. And it, you know, very clearly states water conditioner is beyond the worst smelling thing in existence. It smells like awful. I can't even describe it. It just smells like something's dying. I used to do taxidermy, and I've smelled like rotting flesh, and it smelled worse than that. Anyways, and it's just because it's so potent. So for instance, for like a 20-gallon tank, you're only supposed to use like a capful, and that's probably, I want to say, like maybe 50 milliliters, like max.
Right.
So very, very tiny amount. Anyways, and so this woman, she left or whatever, and she came back the next day, and she was like, I don't know what you did to my water, but my entire fish tank, everything's dead. And my water is like jello.
And when she dumped the whole thing in or something?
She poured the whole thing of water conditioner in there. And I can, like, when I was hearing the story, I was like, I can guarantee she has a tank that's probably like 5 to 10 gallons, like max. Like most people, especially if it's like someone who isn't super familiar with like fish, it's usually like for their kids.
Yeah.
So it, you know, has to fit on like a desk or something. Yeah, so don't do that. You pour a whole thing of water conditioner in your like fish tank might turn to jello. So yeah.
I think we're getting pretty close to the end of the stream here. It's like we're 4 minutes out. So did we want to like have some last concluding remarks, or like how we can find us on social media and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to start us off?
Sure. So like I said earlier in the stream, my name is Nasty or Enterbird. You can find me on most social media, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, at Entobird. And I just love to share science communication and that kind of content.
Awesome. And my name is Atlas, and you can find me at Painted Dog. That's PAINTEDDOQ, not with a G, on Twitter.com. And also check out Anthro East Coast. Hopefully, at some point here, we're going to be starting to con back up again if all things are good. But yeah, we host a 2-day-long event here in beautiful Halifax, Nova Scotia, and we hope to see you guys at some point.
Yeah, and I hope to see you next time I can actually physically be there, because I'll be a guest of honor there. We're going to be doing all kinds of cool science stuff.
See us all together there. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining.
Yeah, and I'm quite impressed with our aquarium, just to wrap things up. It's pretty nice.
Oh, this is like intense. Oh, I love the lanterns that you put around.
Yeah. All right, everybody. See you later.
See ya.
Thank you so much, Entobird, for that awesome panel. And joining me, I have BT. How's it going, dude?
Hey, thanks for having me. Everything's going amazing. I am in love with this convention.
Same. It's honestly such a wonderful experience. Hopefully, like, your weekend has been full of fun, friends, and partying.
Oh, it has been. Like, I met so many new people, and so many people who really, for either first time coming to a Furnal Equinox experience, or, you know, first time even coming to a con itself. And it's just amazing just hearing the amazing, like, feedback and the positivity, meeting so many wonderful people from all around the world. It's like a con. It feels exactly like a con.
Yeah, and it's super international. Like, we just ran into a wonderful group of people from the Philippines.
Yeah, we did.
Who are joining us here. So we welcome you to virtual Canada, eh? But
yeah, virtual Canada, eh? No doubt about it.
No doubt about it, eh? But yeah, so it's been absolutely fantastic meeting all these wonderful new people, talking, learning about new stuff, and it's been great. You don't even need VR to use VR chat. I know both you and I are desktop users, so
yeah,
it's been a wonderful experience.
Yeah, even if you don't have VR, like I said, desktop mode is amazing too, because yeah, you don't have the hand movements, but you still have that interaction. You're still talking and meeting with people. So, you know, don't be afraid to jump on if you want to check it out, because, you know, you will still be part of the community no matter what.
Yeah, it's just so fantastic. Well, there looks to be a registration of badgies behind us.
Oh my god! Whoa,
Oh my
they snuck
god.
up on us. Whoa!
Be
I
careful of
think
the badgies. They're predatory creatures who want nothing more than your registrations.
they do. If they see that you're not wearing a registration badge, they can get a little aggressive. So just be careful when approaching them. We're still trying to learn how to communicate with them, but man, they got some good moves. Look at that.
Fantastic. But to keep things moving, what panel do we have up next, BT?
Oh, that's a very good question. Coming up next, we do have a panel called Autism, My Journey, hosted by Hiro Nichi. We're actually looking forward to this one because, as you know, the furry fan is very diverse, and it's really interesting to see how people, go through life and their challenges and, how they overcome things. So I'm really interested in seeing this one, in all honesty.
Yeah, well, how about we go check it out?
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks for having me, Ace, and we'll catch up with you later during the dances, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely be there all night long, shaking your tail. Have fun, guys, and enjoy the next panel.
Have fun.